Shalom, giving all praises to Yahweh Shem Shai Shem Kakodash, giving all praises to Yahweh Shem Shai Shem Kakodash. Now, thank Kal Halal Yam Yahweh Shem Shai Shem Kakodash. Shalom to the hopefully elect out there. Back at you with another lesson. I'm going to entitle this lesson, Septimius Severus was not the first black Hebrew Israelite or Israelite in parentheses, Roman emperor. I remember back in One West days, it was maybe early 90s, maybe 89, early 90s. Prior to that, 89, 87, 86, 85, we taught at the One West School, or the teachers taught us that the Constantine, the first in the line of the Constantines were all Edomites. That was considered like common knowledge. Yeah, they were white people. Well, Constantine, the first, and his, the ones that came after him in that lineup, you go into the history, you know, emperors ruled and their sons would rule, or their close kin would rule. In the ancient world, let's go back to King David. You know, King David's successor would be King Solomon. King Solomon's successor would be Rehoboam, so forth and so on. And every once in a while, it'll be next to kin. That didn't always happen in the Roman Empire. You had certain people rule that were not family members necessarily, like Julius Caesar's. After Julius Caesar, you had Octavian Caesar, which was also known as better known as Augustus Caesar, which was the nephew of Julius Caesar. So the Caesars kind of kept. It was like from one son or next of kin. But sometimes you had people that had nothing to do with that lineage. Anyway, it was common knowledge back then that, you know, Constantine and them were white people. Then we found out, and this was through you know, High Priest Yeshaya and a High Priest Kazak, which Kazak, if any of the Sakaris watching the video, there was a man from one of the 7 that came to the camp and said, "You guys are doing a good job." That was High Priest Kazak or Elder Kazak, which he's still around, but I know that he moved down. He's been living in Atlanta for years, so that had to be him. It wasn't Shaw, it wasn't Ariyah, because they would have said it. You know, it wasn't Yeshaya. You know, it had to be Kazak, Elder Kazak, or High Priest Kazak at that time, which he was very heavy in the icons. You know, he introduced it along with High Priest Yeshaya, and they also introduced the so-called UFOs, because what was taught was, see, this thing evolves. We know a lot more now than our teachers before us. So the Most High gives this knowledge in measure. He doesn't just give you the whole knowledge, he gives it in measure. So the Most High gave us a lot more knowledge, like I said, than the men before us, our predecessors, the heads that taught us. So what they found out, High Priest Yeshaya and High Priest Kazak, was that Constantine and that whole line of the people that ruled the Byzantine Empire, the Byzantine Empire itself, which that was a name I believe was given by Esau. And Byzantine supposed to mean backwards, but you had the capital of that empire called Byzantium, which was changed to when the Turks took us over, and that's in history. When the Turks took us over, they renamed the capital from Byzantium. Well, it was Constantinople, Byzantium, and I believe Byzantium, Constantinople, and then Istanbul. So in Istanbul, Turkey was currently uh, prior to Istanbul being given it that name was Constantinople. Let's prove that. Let me see. I'm going to do this. Bear me for a minute. Let me see. Okay, I'm right here. Let me pull this over here. Let me go to Google. Istanbul.
Istanbul is located in northwestern Turkey and straddles the Strait Bosphorus, which provides the only passage from the Black Sea to the Mediterranean via the Sea of Marmara.
Okay. Let's go into it. Let me see. Wikipedia. Let's go to Wikipedia. Okay, let me see how we close this. Give me a second here. Okay, so we looked at Istanbul, right? I'm not going to read all of this. Okay, it says here 330 CE, which means common era, which is AD. The Roman Emperor Constantine the Great made it his imperial capital uh, first as New Rome, Greek, because we spoke fluent Greek at that time. Israelites did, and Hebrew. And then as Constantinople. Constantinople was the capital of the Roman Empire when Jake took it over. And it wasn't during the time of Septimius Severus. It was way before that. We took over. So get your history together, Bishop Nathaniel. Um, the first black or Israelite emperor was Nerva, as I said in previous videos, and that was after the Flavian dynasty. You see, when you go to Second Ezra 11 and Second Ezra 12, it's talking about the 12 feathers, which goes back to Julius Caesar, to um, Vespasian's second son. You had Titus, and then you had what's this guy, Domitian, and that was the last of the 12 feathers. And after that, you had Jake. You had Jake ruling. That kingdom, the Roman Empire, was cut up into two parts: the Western Kingdom and the Eastern Kingdom. Western Kingdom was ruled by Esau for the most part, but there was a dying kingdom, and the kingdom kept going on the east side. So it became a so-called Black Kingdom, you know, during that time. I'm letting this back noise go away. Bear me for a minute. Because so it says Constantinople was the capital of the Roman Empire. This is when Jake ruled. And later, the Eastern Roman Empire, like I said, the Western Roman Empire fell. The Latin Empire 1204 to 1261, and the Ottoman Empire 1453 to 1922, following the Turkish War of Independence. Yeah, just waited till that noise get out. The meter is talking. So anyway, what did I say? I made some statements and I showed you that was called Constantine, right? It says rise and fall of Constantinople and the Byzantine Empire. That was Jake's. Ottoman Empire and Turkish Republic era. So this when you read Revelation, the 20th chapter, which we went through last night in the live class, you have to mention, the Turkish sacking, the taking over the Byzantine Empire, what they call the Byzantine Empire, the Christian Empire. So that was Jake ruling. So get that right. So let me do this. Let me come back over here. So it says Septimius Severus was the first African born. That didn't mean he was a Hamite. Because remember, we had great influence in Africa. Hannibal, the Carthaginian Empire, Hannibal Barca. Barca is Hebrew for, depending on how you spell it, it either means bless, Barak, or a lightning, Barak. So his name either meant blessed or lightning. I believe it meant lightning. If you look up Carthage, the city of Carthage, it's a Hebrew name. I forget the Hebrew word. I believe it's New City, if I'm not mistaken. Like I did videos on that. So, you say, well, they were Africans, meaning they had no. You had Israelites that took over a lot of Africa. Matter of fact, we damn near took over Egypt. You had so many Alexandrian Jews in Egypt, man. When they would come for the Passover to Jerusalem, to Palestine, that was the biggest group that came out there. So this proves that Septimius Severus, although he was not born in Israel, he was born in Africa, he was an Israelite. It says Septimius Severus was the first African-born Roman emperor. But he wasn't the first so-called black Roman Empire or Israelite Roman Empire. By the way, Septimius Severus was an Israelite. This marble statue of the ruler from Alexandria in Egypt. What was big in Alexandria, Egypt? You had a large community. I would say, if not a million, damn near a million or more than a million. You got to do the research on that. But like I said, that was the biggest group when they had the, pursuant to Deuteronomy 16:16. Look that up. I'm not going to explain it. When they came for their pilgrimages 2 times in a year, the biggest group out there was the Israelites out of Alexandria, Egypt, would once have been vividly painted and shows him in military dress. He grew up in Laptis Magna on the coast of modern day Libya and moved to Rome when he was around 18 years of age, or 18. So that makes you think, well, see, that was the only black Roman emperor, right? But the first so-called black or Israelite that ruled, that came into power, was this guy Nerva. Let me look up Nerva. Matter of fact, no, you know what I'm gonna do? Let me do this. I got it right here anyway. And I went through this last night and last week. 5 good emperors, the ancient Roman imperial succession of Nerva. Nerva came, he was the first Jake to rule. And what you got to understand is, when you look at the pictures of these guys, they all had beards. This is Nerva, I believe. He didn't have a beard. 5 good emperors, the ancient Roman imperial succession of Nerva, reigned 96 to 98. Trajan, another Jake, 98 to 117. Hadrian, another Jake. Now, this didn't mean that they necessarily knew that they were Israelites. They would be considered Gentiles, and Israelites in a Gentile state of mind. Antonius Pius, 138 to 161, and Marcus Aurelius, 161 to 180. And like I said in previous videos, when you watch the movie, the opening scene of the movie Gladiator, there was a war between the Germanic tribes, between the Roman Empire. And then you had the picture of this guy, what's his name, Maximus, which they made him up. That's a made-up character. The main character in that movie never existed. They just made him up. But who actually existed, that was mentioned in that movie, was a current emperor, which was this guy, Marcus Aurelius, and then his son. I believe that was his second oldest son. I got to go back into the history. I believe he had an oldest son that it said that he killed his oldest son, Marcus Aurelius' oldest son, which was Commodus's older brother. And then they said he killed Marcus Aurelius. He didn't kill Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius died. He was up in age. They said who presides over the most majestic days of the Roman Empire. Because when Jake came up in there, we made Rome, the Roman Empire, live and popping. That's just our nature. And this is what. So when you go through the history, I'm talking to you, Bishop Nathaniel. I'm trying to help you, brother. Don't be you throw that out there like you some master scholar. Yeah, Septimius Severus came into power in 193. That's some old stuff that you got from One West, from Yeshaya. Not knocking Yeshaya or Gazak, but they open our eyes to that. The whole concept. Matter of fact, let me do this. Let me come on back. Okay, let me do this here. Roman Emperor Constantine the Great. Let me see. Constantine the First, also known as Constantine the Great, was Roman emperor from AD 306 to 337, and the first of which to convert to Christianity. That garbage Christianity, which is Roman Catholicism, came from this wasn't real Christianity. Born in Nicias, Dacia, Mediterranean, he was the son of Flavius Constantius. Flavius Constantius, a Roman army officer of, what is that? I can hardly see that. I think it's I can hardly see that origin. So now his father was known in a famous sculpture statue of four men. Let me see Constantius. Let me do this. Let me do this. And click on this. Wait a minute. We got to bring it back up. Okay. Where is his father? Constantine, Roman Emperor. Let me put in the word father. Right, let me do it this way. Bring this back. Constant. Let me do it this way. Const. Bear with me, please. Bear with me, please. Okay, here we go. Flavius Constantius. Now look at this. Look at this individual right here. Oh, he looks like James Evans. Good time. He looked like he looked just like him. So you know what I got to do? I got to. Okay, Flavius Valerius Constantius Carus, I think it is, which means Lord, also called Constantius the First, was Roman emperor from 305 to 306. He was one of the four original members of the Tetrarchy. I'm going to show you a famous statue of them four, established by Diocletian, first serving as Caesar from 293 to 305, and then ruling as Augustus until his death. So let me do this here. And I did this before. Let me see. Let me come back over here and do this. Go back to Google. The four tetrarchs. The four tetrarchs. Portrait of the four tetrarchs. Let me go to images. This is a famous sculpture, statue. And one of them, they didn't show which one. I mean, it'll tell you which one is which. But the four by name was, I'm trying to see. Let me do this. Let me do this. Let me come back over here. Okay, let me do this. Okay, these are the names. The four tetrarchs, which they ruled. There were four men that ruled, four-man rulership. Diocletian, which was a Jake, Maximian, which was a Jake, Constantius, which was a Jake, and the father of Constantine the Great, and Galerius embrace one another. The similarity of dress and gesture, asserting this solidarity of the group rather than their individual identities. So now let me look up the word tetrarchs. Bear with me for a minute. I look up the word tetrarchs. Bear with me for a minute. Copy. Well, it's right here. Tetrarchs. Definition. In the Roman Empire, the governor of one of four divisions of a country or province. So that represented four ruling. Tetrarch was a system instituted by Roman Emperor Diocletian in 293 AD to govern the ancient Roman Empire by dividing it between two emperors, the Augusti and their junior colleagues. Just like you got in the Senate, U.S. Senate, you have a senior senator and you have a junior senator. And designated successors, the Caesars. This marked the end of the crisis of the 3rd century. So Jake was well into the rulership. Look, he saw the Roman Empire, the greatness of the ancient pagan Roman Empire. It was only for about a little over 100 years. Not even 150 years. But when Jake ruled, Jake expanded that, man. Jake came in 96 through Nerva. And so I'm going into this is a history class. And from 96 really all the way up to the 1400s. So if you want to get technical, we've ruled more than 1,000 years. But that 1,000-year mark starts with Constantine the Great up until like the 1300s. But the Dark Ages, which we ruled the Dark Ages, that was from 500 to about 1500. Let me do this. Esau wasn't ruling, so they didn't say too much about the Dark Ages or the medieval times. The Dark Ages.
The Dark Ages in Europe occurred between 500 CE and 1000 CE or 500 to 1500 AD. The term Dark Ages was coined by the scholar Petrarch during the Renaissance.
So who was Petrarch, whatever his name was, during the Renaissance? What was the Renaissance all about? Now you got to go back to Revelation chapter 20. They were bound with a chain for 1,000 years, and then they came back out. The Lord loosened the chains, and they came back out to deceive the world for a little time. So this guy called that time period, which was 1,000 years from 500 AD or CE, the Common Era, to, and she mentioned 1500. That's 1,000 years. But we really had power for more than 1,000 years. So the starting point, you can say from 300, or you can also say from 500 to, because I guess we really got into power, and from 500 to about 1500. Let me read some of this. The Dark Ages is a term for the early Middle Ages or medieval. Evil means what? A bad time, right? Was it a bad time for us? No, it was a bad time for Esau. And it was the middle of that bad time. Or occasionally the entire Middle Ages in Western Europe after the fall of the Western Roman Empire, which was partially ruled by Esau. Esau's kingdom fell. See, we got up into prominent positions and we just pushed Esau out. And see, Esau is fighting. See, I give it to the small hats and the elite of Esau. They're fighting because they know that their kingdom is going down. Revelation 12 and 12. For they know that they have but a short, they shall come down upon you having great wrath, because they know that they have a short time. Because the biggest weapon against this devil is what? Truth. Truth. Zerubbabel said that. What is the greatest thing? The woman, the king. And he said truth. So the truth is coming out that we're the Israelites. That's why Kyrie made the little statement. I saw the video, when I got, Twitter, I saw the movie, you should see it too. Then they just came down on him with all that wrath, man. Because they said what did it say in that movie? They live, there's one that can see. So Kyrie, eyes were open, but guess what? They put him back to sleep. They ain't saying nothing about Kyrie no more. He's in it now. They whipped him media wise. They whipped him with words, and they put him back in his lane. And they made Ye look like he's a crazy person. When he did the interview with Alex Jones, he looked like the Gimp from Pulp Fiction. The movie was dressed up like the Gimp. So they look at this guy as a crazy person. Then he said he loves Adolf Hitler and all that. They said this guy's a crazy person. So what did they do? They made him look bad. They control everything. But you can't stop this. You can't stop this truth. It says in Western Europe, after the fall of the Western European Empire, that was Esau. He fell. We took over. We were the new thing. That characterized, like they bring us in these court systems and all that. They're doing that because we did that to them. So the elite knows that. So they're getting us back. It tells you in Luke, what is it, either 19, 20, or 21, it says, for these are the days of vengeance, meaning that when the Romans besieged Jerusalem and during 70 AD, it was vengeance means what? To pay you back for something that you did previously. So the Romans came against us because of what we did to them when they were being called Edomites. It says that characterizes it as marked by economic, intellectual, and cultural decline. Yeah, on them. Most High wasn't dealing with them. The reason why Esau is in power because the Most High put him in power. Right, it says right here, length from roughly 500 CE to 1000 CE. That's only 500 years. But then the woman, when you heard the right here, it says date between 500 CE, common era, and 1000 CE, or 500 to 1500 AD or CE. So that's any way you want to put it, that's 1,000 years right there. If you want to go by a Nerva coming into power, that's more than 1,000 years. That's closer to almost 1,400 years. And so, like I said, and the other many of us said this, you cannot understand, you have to know the history to understand the mystery. And the mysteries are the prophecies in the scriptures. And we see them crystal clear. We see them clearly. Any prophecy in the scriptures, that's why I always go into prophecies, because we're living in the time of the fulfillment of these prophecies. What manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversations? So what are we supposed to be talking about now? These last few prophecies. The charagma, the MOTB, the destruction. I read the information concerning, let me see if it's still up. Like this right here, right? Last night I went through this. How many nations possess ICBM missiles? Main nations, United States, Russia, and China. Then I read the defense system. Does Russia have a defense system against missiles? They say yes. Does America have a defense system against the missiles? They pretty much said no. They said the country that has the most missiles is Russia, because the Most High is going to use Gog and Magog, the chief prince, which the chief prince in the Hebrew is Russia. Russia is a Hebrew word meaning chief prince, prince, or head prince. Ra'ash Shah. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say Shalom.